Josh, you mentioned that in your previous company, there was a model created which literally solved 99% of your problems about the incident audit, whether it is real or it's an arsony. Now, during that time, did you ever had a thought or insecurity like this is going to take away my job? Or did anyone in your team had that thought? Like, how did they adopt it? Because this is pre-chat GPT era
Yeah.
where we are talking about a model which is going to do a human's job. So how was your feeling around that time?
Yeah, it's I think when you're in any kind of technical role, number one, you're spending a lot of money. Like I had a $5 to $10 million a year budget. And so when you're spending that kind of money, you always have a lot of attention on that, right? And
Yeah,
especially in insurance. Insurance is a very simple financial model. You got to
yeah,
take in more money than you pay out. And it's the same thing in any business, right?
yeah,
But so there's a lot of focus on big budgets all the time. And so I say that to preface your question with the fact that the question is always, if I'm going to spend this, how much am I going to save, right? They
yeah,
call it ROI. What's my return on investment, right?
right.
And so that was always a question with everything we did, right? If we build a model that predicts fraud, do we need people to go through claims and determine whether or not there's fraud? If we build an RPA that does this, then what is down to the penny, what is the projected return on that investment? And some of those RPAs we built saved millions of dollars because they took things that were highly
Correct.
manual, reading a document, typing stuff into the system, and a robot would sit there and do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't need vacation, it doesn't need sick pay, it doesn't need benefits, right? And it always works, right? So it was always a concern. I think the good thing is the way we always handled it is that when we would often we kind of tackled it two ways. Like we would either not replace roles in that department in the future, or we would take those roles and reallocate them, right? So
Mhm.
it always created efficiency, but what it didn't do is cost people jobs because, and that was always the straight. I'd look at people and say, look, we're not taking. Yes, your job may change. We're not trying to eliminate your job, but if we do away with this task, then the next time that somebody leaves or somebody gets promoted or whatever, we don't have to fill that role, right? So there is a savings there, but it's not going in and slashing
Makes
people.
sense.
But to be ironic, I mean, that's what happened to 3,000 of us at the same time, right? So I say that and that's what we did, but that's our approach, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen because it happened to me, right?
And following that, now coming to our industry, B2B email outreach, we have so many technologies. Now we are at the peak, in a way, in human mankind history, using machine learning, using language models, using like these chat GPTs. Literally, like I had a talk with Felipe on my last video where he mentioned they are going to make it so easy. People who are willing to do outreach, they can do it without any technical knowledge very quickly. So, how do you think the agencies like yourself or other fellow competitors, how they should navigate this space for the next year or two? Like we have like pretty much I know right now I can automate everything right from targeting people to closing them to getting them on board, and running the campaign for them to giving them the positive response. 100% everything can be automated, but
Mhm.
this is kind of scary also for a lot of people. But what would be your take on how other people can leverage such automation, this new technology, and grow their business? Or how are you doing it?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question. So when it comes down to doing this, just because it can be done doesn't mean it should be done. Part of that is, the argument, right? Because like, let's just take replies, for example. True story. I told this to a lead the other day. He kind of laughed at me, but it really happened. We got an email from a client or from a lead on a cold email campaign. And the guy was like, his response was, I have a budget meeting tomorrow. And this was like late November. So the timing was really interesting too. It's like, I have a budget meeting tomorrow. Give me a quote for 2,200 licenses. This is not a cheap software for this client, right?
Correct.
Big company, tier one company, right? I don't know if I want AI handling that reply. That could be $100,000, $1 million deal, right? And
100%.
what if AI was like, let me check with my boss or no thanks or whatever, right? So part of it is like, yes, these models are next level amazing and contextually aware. They're getting smarter over the last 90 days. I feel like because of all the investment, it's just rapidly coming. I almost can't keep up. Like this week it
Yeah.
was 4.0 got updated, Grok 3 came out. Like every week it's a major movement. right? Deep
True.
research from Perplexity on Friday, right? And these are game changing things, right? But they're very hard to keep up with. And their capabilities just get better and better. And they're like big screen TVs. They're better but cheaper every single time. So it's an amazing thing. Just because it can be automated, I don't know that it should. But I think yes, there are going to be tools that you go into and prompt into, I want these type of leads, and then you can run an email campaign automatically. I don't think that's going to help with deliverability. I mean, to some extent, it's not going to choose. It's
Yeah.
not going to stop people from trying to send. The best analogy I can give is there's a whole world of businesses right now that are well funded. Let's just say 5 million to 50 million that still think they should be sending emails out of Apollo and Zoom Info at 50 a day, right? And they do.
Mhm.
And some of those people become my clients because they can't figure out how they're sending, number
True.
one, how they burn their primary domain. Number two, why they get one of my biggest clients came from me because their reply rate was 0.01%. And I
Oh,
just had a
that's
simple proposition like, I can get that to 1%. I mean, that's low, right? But I'm like, I can get your reply rate to 1% and 10 times your engagements by sending the same email on different infrastructure. And I did, and they're now my clients still 26 weeks later, right? So part of it is I think that just because you can do it doesn't mean you're going to do it well. I still think they're going to need people like us that understand all aspects of it. And I like to call that term like an orchestrator, where it's someone who orchestrates the decisions
right.
along the way.